Welcome to the Highland Wonders podcast, where we share stories and knowledge from experts about the charismatic species and diverse ecosystems of the Okanagan Highlands of north central Washington. My name is Jen Weddle, and I am a co-director of Okanagan Highlands Alliance, a nonprofit conservation organization dedicated to stewarding and protecting the beautiful Okanagan Highlands, which are the traditional and ancestral lands of the Okanagan First Nations in British Columbia and the Okanagan, Lakes, and Colville bands, who are now part of the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Reservation. Can you think of anyone you know that can do all of these things? Dance, screech, hop, peck, hoot, flit, hunt, rustle, soar, wade, swim, drum, hum, and sing? People can't do all that stuff. Even the whole class of mammals working together would have a hard time with all those verbs. But birds can do all that. Birds are action-packed creatures, capable of high drama at times, and they're all around us, which makes them so fun to get to know. At all seasons, all over the world, our feathered friends are doing things that make us ask questions like, what is that bird I keep hearing in my backyard? Or, how do bird feet not freeze in the winter? Or, where's that bird going with that beak full of grass? In this episode, Alex Feinberg, birdwatcher and software engineer with the eBird program at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, shares how he learned and is still learning to be a birdwatcher, how you can go about getting your tough bird questions answered, and how you can move along in your journey to become the birdwatcher, or birder if you prefer, that you have always dreamed of being. So enjoy!
Blessed unrest.
So my name's Alex Feinberg. I am a bird watcher. I always have loved nature, and I think as a kid, I always wanted more. I would go to camp and love it. We would go hiking, and I was like, this is the best. After college, I wanted to learn more about nature. I went to college in Maine, and there's so much beautiful stuff out there, and I felt like I didn't really have the chance to get to know it very well. So I got a field guide, and I started looking around the woods. Then I went on some bird walks with the Brookline Bird Club in Massachusetts. The people there were really friendly. I was worried that they would be, who's this guy who doesn't know anything about birds? We have to explain everything. Not at all. They were really nice and really excited to see someone under the age of 50 on their bird walk. And then I kept doing that, and then I was living in Russia for a bunch of years, and I got kind of involved with the bird watching group there. Then came back to the States. I'd always thought, wouldn't it be cool, because I'm a software programmer, to find something related to birds and also use my computer skills. So I was looking on the Cornell Lab's website, Cornell Lab of Ornithology. I saw they had a position open for software engineer, so I applied for that, and then I've been at the Cornell Lab for a year and a half now.
The Cornell Lab of Ornithology, where Alex works, is part of Cornell University's College of Agriculture and Life Science, and is also a nonprofit organization. Their mission is to interpret and conserve the Earth's biological diversity through research, education, and citizen science focused on birds and nature. It's kind of a dream come true for anyone with any inkling of an interest in birds. And it's kind of cool what a great fit this organization is for a software engineer with a birdie bent like Alex.
So I'm a software programmer, so I write a lot of the back-end code for eBird and maintain the existing code and help write new features for it. The big plus for me, bird-wise, is that I've gotten to know a lot of people in the bird world. Cool. Yeah. I would say my day-to-day isn't particularly birdie. It's more computers, which can be fun, also tiring. Getting to know people, and then all my coworkers love birds, so we're always sharing information and go on bird trips together.
How many people work for Cornell Lab?
Work for Cornell Lab, there's 350-ish. And our team is a lot smaller. It's like, really about 10. Well, we have ornithologists, we have a lot of postdocs, we have, a museum people work for in collections, and also, it's a nonprofit, so people doing development and fundraising. We have people writing courses for Bird Academy.
Yeah.
I'm taking and have been slacking on my shorebird course. The huge amount of media in the Macaulay Library. I was hearing yesterday that we just passed like 2 million sound recordings, like 10 million photos. It's a really powerful tool that I haven't mastered yet.
Could you tell us a little bit about the 2 phone apps, Merlin ID and eBird?
The focus of Merlin is to identify birds. So there's features like the most popular one right now is Sound ID. So that's very helpful, and that's been huge for, getting people to download the app and get out and listen for birds. I find it really helpful for, learning the sounds too, because going out, I might not know what I'm hearing. Once you make the connection, like once or twice or a few times, really solidify it, then you start noticing it even without. And then there's photo ID on there, and there's a kind of basic field guide for looking through birds, and they give you a range map, and they give you a little blurb of information and some photos and sounds. So eBird is mainly focused around submitting checklists. So, when I go out, I start a checklist and then keep a tally of the birds that I'm detecting, submit that, and that goes into the main database. People can see your observations. It gets used for analytics and science, and that's really helpful for conservation and all sorts of stuff like that.
Who uses the information and databases in eBird?
Definitely scientists use it for papers and, doing stuff with viewing trends of the bird declines and population studies and all sorts of stuff like that. And I think it's really become a lot more legitimized lately in the community. From what I've been hearing from some of my coworkers who have gone to bird conferences, scientists are definitely showing a lot of interest in using our data for scientific papers. It's a huge database. It's just a massive amount of data that is impossible for a few scientists to go out and collect that volume. In eBird, there's a science section that has some great visualizations, and some of those are based on eBird data. So you can, drag this little slider and see, depending on what month you are, where the birds are. And one of the things that we talk about is bending the curve, because birds have been in a big decline all over the world in the past century. It's a number of factors: habitat loss, climate change, collisions with windows in cities. So we have a whole initiative for lights out during migration, making sure that during migration season, because birds will be attracted to the light and then they'll fly into windows. There have been some big successes. I think it was Austin, Texas, that really did a good job of turning off their lights at night. And I think we've had some connections with people in Austin for doing that. And then the Javits Center in New York redid their whole building recently and made it bird friendly.
Okay, so let's say that you are talking to somebody who's interested in getting into bird watching or birding. What would you recommend that they do or get to get started?
Merlin. I mean, I'm a little biased, but I think it's a great tool for the Sound ID is great for me too, but certainly beginner birders. What else? A field guide is really helpful. There is a field guide in Merlin, but I think it's useful to have a paper copy that you can take to the toilet with.
Is there one in particular that you like?
I use Sibley's. I think it's really good.
Binoculars?
Absolutely, yeah. Binoculars. You can start out with a cheap one. Oh, and meeting other birders, going to bird walks. When I started out, I said I was going to the Brookline Bird Club bird walks. Learning from other people is really important. Also, something I'll do is if it pops up on Merlin, I'm in the sound ID, then I might go and listen to the recording of it and I'll be like, oh yeah, that is what I heard. Or not exactly. Maybe I'm not totally sure there.
Do you have any tips for how to go about seeing more birds and more diversity?
Learning the sounds that's really a big boost because you're not always going to see everything, especially if it's like up in the trees. Also be fine with not being able to identify everything on your first outing or your second or ever. Being able to say like, okay, that bird I'm not going to be able to identify is really important too. I feel like sometimes like I do feel like, oh my God, I need to like identify every single bird. I think not feeling that need is important. Next time maybe I'll be able to identify, get a better look, or maybe I'll be a little bit more knowledgeable. Also, a good thing is beforehand, okay, I know I'm going to the Lost Lake Preserve. Let me check the eBird page and see what's there recently. And then you can like look at pictures beforehand, listen to the sounds. And
then do you enjoy walking and looking for birds, or do you like to sit in one place?
yeah, I like everything. Walking. There are certain places where driving is really useful, like a big swamp, and you want to get from one side to the other side. And I think it depends a little bit on the habitat and like what the layout is of the place. Also, there's plenty of ways. On a kayak, biking, on horseback, all modes of transportation are valid.
Do you have any favorite bird adventures?
Well, I really like birding around Russia. It's a place that really lacks a lot of data. You look at like an eBird map of some species, and most of Russia is completely blank. Yeah, so going there is really cool because you can be the first one to see a species in a whole list. Or, like I went to the Altai Mountains and the border with Mongolia, and I saw like Altai snowcocks. Not that many people have seen in the world. They live in just that little part of the world. They look kind of like a grouse. A high mountain species.
Do you have a life list?
Well, in eBird, you get a life list for free if you're submitting your tech lists.
Do you know how many are on your?
Something like 1,200.
Nice. Have you seen new ones here?
I think my most recent one. Oh, I saw sooty grouse up by Hart's Pass, canyon wren at the Pipestone Canyon. So on my drive here, I was in Wisconsin and I got a whooping crane. There's only a few dozen in the wild, a couple hundred by now. Like the population's been increasing a little bit. But another little thing is like when you get on the rare bird alert for eBird, each county in the U.S. has a filter. If you say, I saw a flamingo here, you'll have to say like a few words about it. We have a team of reviewers. They're all volunteers who goes through and says like, do we want to investigate this a little bit more? And it'll flag the birds that it thinks are rare. I saw a blue-winged teal in Okanagan County in the app. You can sign up, for the rare bird alert for a county.
Is there any other major programs that people who are interested in birds should know about?
All About Birds is a great resource for bird life histories and, more detailed information about every species. They have a page. Yeah, the eBird Science is a little hard to find on our website, but it has all those, cool maps and graphics. The migration dashboard, it's called Birdcast. So it's active during the spring and fall migrations. It uses a network of weather radar for counting the number of birds flying over your county every night. Wow, last night 1 million birds migrated over my county. I better go look for them. And then there's lots of stuff like outside the lab too, like Facebook groups and your local community and your Audubon chapter. And
do you have some ideas about what people can do if they're interested in supporting birds and wildlife?
Yeah, I think getting involved in your local community and your local hotspots and wildlife places is really important.
Psst. Okanagan Highlands Alliance is one of those organizations that loves to have people involved. Do you have ideas for how people can support birds around their own homes and property?
My landlord's mom, who lives on the same property as me, is really into planting native plants, and it's really cool to watch the goldfinches eating the black-eyed Susan seeds in the winter when there's not much else around. And, I like identifying bugs, so huge amount of diversity there because of planting native plants. Like, you're getting a lot more insect life, and those insects support birds, and those birds support other birds up the food chain.
And what about cats?
Keep them inside. Yeah, I think introducing a predator into your environment is not something that you should be doing if you want to support birds or mammals or whatever other wildlife you have. Yeah, look at birds.
Yeah.
Go out and get in nature and grab your binoculars.
And we're super lucky to live in a really beautiful place. And lots of really cool birds, migratory and residents both. Chickadees are like my favorite, so I was happy to see chickadees today. Okay, all you bird watchers, birders, and aspiring birders out there, a quick recap. The Cornell Lab of Ornithology is a deep and reliable resource for all of your birdie interests. The apps for your phone are called Merlin ID and eBird, which you can find at the Apple Store or Google Play Store. They're free and easy to use. The Cornell Lab's website is quite Googleable, or you can check out the episode notes for the link. The Macaulay Library is where you can find photos and sounds, and you can also submit your own photos and recordings to add to the library. The Bird Academy offers online courses in drawing and photography, in specific bird groups, in general birdwatching techniques, and lots more. All About Birds is the name of the online field guide. This list scratches the surface of what the Cornell Lab does for people and for birds and for nature. But the take-home message is that if you want to learn more about birds, the Cornell Lab of Ornithology is a great place to look. Our hope is that if you are a beginning birdwatcher, or maybe don't consider yourself a birdwatcher at all, that you feel empowered to give it a try. Remember, like superheroes, birdwatchers are not born, but made. One way to jump into the citizen science aspect of birdwatching is to participate in the Great Backyard Bird Count, which happens in mid-February every year. Check out the episode notes to links for more information. Big thank you to Alex Feinberg for sharing his story and experiences with birdwatching as a hobby, a career path, and a lifelong adventure. I know I am excited to explore more of what the Cornell Lab of Ornithology does and offers. This podcast is produced by Okanagan Highlands Alliance. OHA is based in Tonasket, a town in the heart of the Okanagan Valley of north central Washington. We are inspired by the beauty and diversity of the landscape that surrounds us, from the aspen and conifer forests to the highland lakes to the tumbling creeks that descend to the wide, glacier-carved Okanagan River Valley. We engage in environmental advocacy, habitat restoration, and educational activities in our efforts to protect local ecosystems for future generations. To learn more about OHA or to become a member, please visit our website, okanaganhighlands.org. Our theme song, Blessed Unrest, is written and performed by Tyler Graves and Andy Kingham. You can support the artists by finding and downloading the full song from your favorite music platform.
Blessed unrest, blessed unrest.